Okay. Good evening, everybody. I knew I forgot something. I forgot my Bluetooth, so I had to run and get it real quick. Anyway, gave everybody a little time to join in, if anybody wants to join in. So, I have been making some chess pieces, and that is one of them before I did any detail work. And tonight, I figured out how I'm going to add the detail to the seahorse. And I will show you that. I don't know if you can see it. The light may be a little bit too much glare. Anyway, I added a little sea anemone down here. And I gave the seahorse some ribs. And those should hold the, I'm going to use oxide wash. So that should hold that oxide wash really nicely. I think I'll probably use copper on one side and cobalt on the other, but I haven't decided yet. Anyway, I thought I would go live tonight and show you guys how I make these little seahorse guys. So I start out with 4 pieces of clay. That one would be the base. That would be the bigger, longer piece of coral. That would be the shorter piece of coral. And believe it or not, this guy here is going to be the seahorse. So the first thing I do is I get the basic shape, and this is what I use to put the detail on there. I'm going to set this aside for right now. Put the slip back in. And you go there. Anyway, I get the basic shape of the base with my 2 little places where my coral's going to go. And then I take my coral piece, and this one may be a little bit long. Get a little water on that, smooth it out. And this is paper clay that I made. I had some pieces that from throwing that were really wet, just scraps. And I took and cut it into layers about that thick, put it in a pancake, made a bunch of different pancakes like that. And then I took toilet tissue and I undid the 2 plies so it was single ply, and I laid a ply of toilet tissue between each layer of clay, and then I just wedged and wedged and wedged until all of that paper was incorporated into that that clay. So this is going to be the taller one. It's going to have a little short split right there. And just getting the basic shape here. This one will squeeze out to a little bit longer than the other one. And the tools I use, I've got this, I use that sometimes for smoothing, that for cutting. And Mostly I use this guy because it's got the smaller point, but sometimes I use these ones with the bigger. And I use this little silicone for some smoothing sometimes. And I use the ballpoint pen for the texture on the coral. That's the best tool I've found for that so far. The ball stylus would work too, but the ballpoint pen was handy. I had it sitting right here, and I didn't want to go searching through my box for the right size ball stylus. So, ballpoint pen it is. Okay. So this guy is going to be a spare. I already have 4 of the knights, which will be the seahorses or knights. And so I'm making a spare just in case something happens to one of the other ones. And it's a good way to show you what's going on. So let me see here. Let me grab one of these guys and just compare size. It's close. Yep, that's pretty close. We can probably pinch a little bit of this off, pinch a little bit of this off. I may use that in a minute. I'll set it right there. And we can probably pinch a little bit of this off even, because that is a little bit thick and a little bit long. All right. Now I'm going to make kind of an indentation here and get some good score marks on there with my fingernails. And let's get some scory and some water. One nice thing about this paper clay is that it really sticks like crazy. And you can re-wet it and re-wet it, and it's very forgiving. So let's just work all of this down into here. Take some of the pregnancy out of that coral because it was kind of fat in the middle there. I tried to put the camera where I would stay in the camera shot because I have a bad habit of bringing things up real close to me. So I brought me close to the wheel and the camera where I hope I can't easily go out of the camera shot. Okay. Now, Mr. Ballpoint Pen. And this is kind of the tedious part right here. So, I don't know, I don't even really play chess, but maybe I'll learn. I know how to play it, but I've never been good at it. Let's put it that way. I don't know. I just wanted to make a chess set. So this is going to be obviously a nautical theme chess set. The knights will be seahorses, as you can tell. The rooks, castles, will be lighthouses. That seemed appropriate. The bishops, with their pointy hats, I'm going to use giant squids. And what I may do is have the giant squid wrapped around a sunken ship, even though that doesn't quite make sense, because the ship would, when the squid attacked it, the ship would be on the surface, but artistic license and all that. I mean, I could do the squid eating a fish, but that wouldn't be quite as dramatic, would it? So anyway, I'm still thinking about that. I haven't made my mind up on that quite yet. I'm doing a couple of drawings to see what I like. My drawing skills are not fabulous, but, you know, get the idea, the concept going on. And then turn it into a 3D lump of clay. So when I first started doing these, I was having a terrible time with them kind of falling apart, because these little pieces are kind of delicate and stuff. And so I could make it, but then I couldn't touch it to put anything onto it or anything like that. And this is porcelain, so it was drying out quick. And I was just having all kinds of trouble. So I was like, well, I got to find a solution to this problem. So I started doing a little bit of research, went online, looking around, and found the concept of paper clay. And people were saying how it's stronger and you can get it thinner and it holds its shape. And even in the greenware stage, it's much stronger. And then when you fire it and the paper burns out, it's lighter. So I thought, that just makes sense. So I did a little more research and figured out how to make paper clay. And there's quite a few different methods that people had. But I found one that looked like it would work for me. And so far, it seems to be working all right. So I'm happy so far. And we'll see how it turns out. You got to try stuff, right? All right, let's smooth this in here. I might have split that down too far. Let's heal it back up right there. And I think I need a little bit more height. So we'll take this piece I took off of the other one and just stick it onto this one. See how easy that went on? Just boom. And it's stuck. I mean, it's really stuck. All right, I'm going to have to dry my hands here. That's better. And then coral, at least the ones, couple pieces I've seen, I'm not hugely familiar with coral, but the ones I've seen that have those little kind of star-like holes in them, like I'm trying to implicate, not replicate, but implicate, just suggest. They usually have these flat ends on them, so there we go. That's better. All right, let's put some of the details on this before we put it on there, because it's starting to get a little bit crowded. So I made like 4 or 5 seahorses that I've reclaimed because I was trying different things and wasn't really happy with the results I was getting. I mean, like a year from now, I might look back at these and say, boy, those are juvenile looking. But at this point, I'm happy with them. So I'm not going for total realism, but I do want appealing. Let's go there. All right, I don't want to go any further down because I got to blend this in. So, let's see, this one goes this way and this one goes this way. And get a little bit of let's get this bottom a little bit flatter there. There we go. Little water there, little water there. All right, it goes like that. And try my fingers off. And let's, uh-oh. Poor baby fell down. Alrighty. Let's work some of this up this way. Okay. Get a little bit of a wet finger and smooth this out. I think I got like a hollow spot there. So let's get a pinch of clay. Yeah, let's just fill that in right there. That's better. And putting those little pock marks on here kind of covers up a multitude of sins, but you still want some structural integrity going on there. So, okay. Let's get this guy all decorated up. So what are those fish that come along and chomp on coral? I don't know what they're called, but they gotta have tough teeth to chomp on coral. Get some clay off of that. There we go. And some of these are going to get smoothed out as I work on the piece. So I don't mind if they're a little bit aggressive right now. And I want enough of them on here that it doesn't look like I got a line of holes, you know? Do I need to zoom in any? Let's see. Let's see. Can you see what I've done there? That's my coral. Okay. Now, let's compare. Yeah, that's pretty close. The base may be a little bit bigger, but that's okay. Set this guy back in here. I can always pare the base down if I need to. Alrighty then. Now comes the fun part. So, I'm going to move this out of my way. Set this back here for a second, and let's thin this down just a little bit. And let's compare to this guy. Yeah, that's about the right thickness, I think. Okay. Now, right in here, we need to start working on a neck. So what I do is I start easing this clay down because the belly, if you look, the belly slopes out like this. And the neck comes back this way. And there's a little bit of curve to the spine there, but not a lot necessarily. So working that part from the neck down this way and in so that we can get that gradual slope to the belly. And that naturally pushes it out back here. And as it splits, if it splits, I just do this. smooth it back down. I want to make sure that I keep the clay moist enough that I don't have problems. And I try to work it so that I don't get lumps where I don't want lumps. As you see right here, this needs to get smoothed back in. So funny thing about the seahorses is the males are the ones that carry the babies in the pouch. They're pretty cool little creatures. I haven't done a lot of research into them, but I thought that was an interesting little tidbit. Anyway, all right, let me clean my hands off here, and we'll do a bit of a comparison. See where we're at. Let's set this guy up here. Yeah, that's about right. Okay. Now this is going to get skinnier right here. And this is going to have like a little uplift kind of thing. So, need still more of a neck. And I think we can start working on his head and his nose. So for the head, a lot of times what I'll do is just kind of block in the shape. That's wanting to crack away, so just block in the shape right there, flat on top, get it kind of even. Get those eye socket things right there. There's a flat spot right there. And let's see what we got. Yeah, that's not too bad. It's pretty rough at this point, I know that. But that's okay. Now what we want to do is coax out this little nose. And the nose has kind of a little upturned, flat area on it. You can use a little bit longer on the nose there. All right. Now, get the eye area, flat spot there, flat spot there, and then a little more of a chin in here. All right. So, and this is where I like the bigger one because we can get that little flat spot in there, little flat spot in there, and he's got kind of a flat spot right there. There's a flat spot on top of his head, and then there's another flat spot right there. All right. And again, it looks rough because I'm just roughing things in right now. And then, yeah, that's going to be good. Get the nose up just a little bit. Okay. Actually, I think I need a little more clay up in here. And let's smooth that in some. There we go. Okay. All right, now, by the hands. Now we have to put in, he's got that little, he's got a gill and a little fin right there. So we're going to define that, smooth this back into his head right here, smooth that down into his jaw. Well, it might be a little too wet now. That's all right. It'll dry out quick. Get that eye area right there. All right, let's come over here, define this one. Right about there. Yep, right about there. Come around and right about there. All right, now let's give it a little definition here. And let's take a little bit of his tail here because we're not going to need that much on his tail. That's getting a little dry. All right. Give it a little moisture here. Another little piece. Oh, gotta dry my hands off now. All right. A little more clay with this. There's one, there's two. And now that one's bigger. All right. Okay, there's two eyeballs. We got this how we want it. Let's get that jaw up just a little bit right there. Let's get this, and then right there. There we go. Alrighty. Now, a little wet there, a little wet there, a little wet there, a little wet there. Okay. Alrighty, there's those little seahorse eyes. Now, let's see. Yeah, his shape looks fairly symmetrical there. So let's, first off, I'm going to pinch off about, I guess about that much. We'll get that wet. Set it right there. Now, let's start working on his tail. I'm not going to do the tail all the way just yet because I have to do his facets. If you look, they've got like plates, different facets. They've got, and this is that little pouch that I was talking about. The brood, flat part here, then a flat part here, then a flat part here, and a flat part here, and a flat part here. So I'm going to get the tail going on some, and this little belly area right here, and then I'll work on those flat parts. And then I'll show you how I'm doing the detail on one of the other ones. Okay. Let's just give it a check for size. The head looks like about the same size. The belly looks like about the same size. The body length looks like about the same size. Okay. Now, let's start smoothing this. All right, there's that center portion there. Let's do this back section right here. That needs a little bit of adjusting. You can see there's a high spot right there. So let's just take our fingers and work it where we want it. This one. All right, now this one kind of curves forward some. And then this one curves up to meet that center belly line. Add a little water on here. And this is going to get covered with slip. I just basically want the shape is what I'm going for. All right, let's get this one and this one. Alrighty then. And this is going to be his dorsal fin in a few minutes. Now, alrighty. Let's pull a tail here. Never in my life did I think I would be pulling a seahorse's tail. And the tail is as long as their body is. Oops, stick your fingernail right in it. I always do that. A little bit more here. Alright, that's pretty good. Clean up my work area a little bit. Set this guy down. And clean up my hands. Alright, let's see how he fits. Without breaking, preferably. Tail might be just a tad long. He's sitting just a little bit tall. So let's spread the coral just a little bit. And let's compare him to another one. Yep, he's definitely just a tad tall. So, spread the coral just a little bit more. Let's take a little off the tail. And I think that's pretty good. All right, let's put his dorsal fin on. So what I'm doing now is making a rectangle. That's about the size that I want. Take a little off of that. Get the shape that I want. That's about the same size. Okay. A little bit wider at the base than it is at the top. And let's get it wet. Get it wet right there. Is that about right? That's close. Move it up just a little bit. All right. Take my little tool and just work this in here. And work it in here. And now support one side. And then come over to the other side without messing up the coral. Okay. There is Mr. Spare. Look the right way. There you go. All right, he can go in here. Now, let's put this back in with the clay. Now, this is slip that I made up. I took my porcelain reclaim bucket and I scooped out some slip from that and I put it in here and I put some toilet paper in with it. So it's a lot wetter obviously than the clay is, but it also has the paper in it. So what I'm doing now is putting this slip on the seahorses and making the detail. So let's see if I can do this without breaking this guy. Got a big air pocket in there. All right. So I take the slip and I put a nice thick layer on there. This is what I found works the best. And this dries pretty quick. And then I take this brush and I just put grooves in it like that. And it leaves little spikies, which I'll tone down somewhat later, but I kind of like the spikies because the seahorses have little spikies everywhere. So I kind of smooth it somewhat, and then I draw the lines through it. That was a little bit thick, but that's okay. Okay. Uh-oh. I just lost a piece of coral. All right, we'll fix that in a minute. Not the end of the world. That is the cool thing about this paper clay. Oh, come back. You gotta kind of work fast with this stuff because the dry figure soaks up the moisture from the slip really fast. And it dries out quick. All right, let's go with the other side of his back here. Oops, stick your finger right in it, don't you? All right, let's fix that. Okay. Really? Quit breaking stuff off. That was a little much. I'm getting out of frame, aren't I? Okay, there we go. Now I'm back in frame and I'm back in the groove. Okay. Okay. Oops, big blob there. Didn't mean that big a blob. Come on, stuff. I got air bubbles all over the place. Alright, I think we got enough for both sections here. Oh yeah. Sure do. Alright. Okay. Now, let's fix a tail and a piece of coral. So, let's wet this and this. And let's get some slip on here and on here. That's kind of a lot. Come off of there. All right. Now, where did you go? Like that, I think. Yep, that works. And take the wet brush and just get some of that off of there. Well, that's stuck pretty good. Okay. Now, let's wet this and this and get some slip on here. And get this back on. Just like that. Okay. Now, let's finish this tail up. So I'm just taking the alrighty. I might need to touch that tail up a little bit more. But I'm going to let this guy dry since he had a couple of breaks. And we'll come back to him. All right, Mr. Seahorse, you go there. Okay, folks, that's been an hour. I think that's enough for one night. I will finish up some more seahorses later. The cool thing about these syringes, you can leave the slip in these syringes, and as long as you have a cap on it, it stays nice and moist. So it's a cool way to slip trail. Not as easy to control maybe as a slip trailer, but I wanted a thicker slip this time, so I think it was the best. Anyway, let me know what you think, and I will see you next time. Stay centered.